What's up, everybody? It's Thursday morning. Oh man, last night was weird. I um, I went to my first therapy session, like a one-on-one therapy session. Um, and it was weird, man. Not in like a bad way. In like you're supposed to keep all of your emotions inside and never talk about them because I'm a man way, right? That fake masculine shit. Um, no, but in all seriousness, I think it went really well. I think it was like really good for me. And honestly, I think this has helped like as one of the bigger reasons why it went well. Um, it just felt easier to talk about stuff, probably because I've just been practicing a little bit. Um, but it was like hard but easy in ways that I didn't expect. It's hard to explain. I've tried therapy in the past, and I gave up on it for many reasons. I always had a reason. I always had like an excuse. You know, this person doesn't get it, or I don't like this person, or whatever it was. But I really chalk it up to emotional maturity. Thinking back, I don't think I was in a place where I was ready to kind of talk about the stuff that I needed to talk about, or really even just take ownership over my own shit, if that makes sense. I don't think I'm that much different than most people, but I also think I'm very different in a lot of different ways. But in the ways that I think I'm similar to most people is I think we all have behaviors that we kind of exhibit that are defensive and based on, protecting ourselves, not letting people in on certain things, and trying to be a strong, reliable, kind of tough version of yourself all the time. And I think that's good for the most part, but there are times where it's just not healthy and where you really need to seek out assistance for those things. And it's one of the reasons why I talk about mentors so much, is because at that point when I had originally tried seeking out some kind of therapy, the reason was I was having panic attacks, and it was really weird because for me, I don't judge people who have any issues with mental illness. Plenty of mental illness runs in my family, and I don't look at it as like a weakness for other people. I look at it as like, that sucks. Like that's something that they have to deal with and figure out, and I'm really empathetic about it. But when it comes to me, I'm like, you're having a panic attack, you're a pussy. Uh, and logically, I know that that is not appropriate or reasonable, but it felt like a weakness to me. And so I, at that moment, was like, I need to go see somebody about this. I got to go figure it out. So I tried to make a good choice, but I was so caught up in my hustle and grind mentality at that point in my life that any challenge to me from someone else to relax or calm down or chill out, that was a direct attack. And I was like, fuck that. I don't need to relax. I don't need to sleep more. I don't need to chill out. You want me to be weak. You want me to be mediocre. Blah, 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 blah. So it was obviously an aggressive projection of my own insecurity. And so I stopped going because I was like, this person just wants me to be mediocre. They want me to suck. And that's just in my own mind. It's not a reflection of how I view other people. It's just how I know that my top end is high, and I can produce a lot, I can work a lot, I can do a lot of things. And anything less than all of my effort and all of my efficiency, all of my, you know, all of my production was unacceptable. So I stopped going. I told myself that, they didn't understand, and that wasn't the, they didn't get the problems that I was dealing with. I needed to figure it out on my own. Well, maybe I was right at the time, because that was my perspective, and that's what I needed to believe in order to kind of pick myself up and drive forward. So maybe that was right at the time, but the way I see it as of now is kind of one of those like rate of diminishing returns kind of deals. What I mean by that is you can only run yourself so hard for so long until you start to, I don't want to use the word break down, but you start to produce a lesser product. You start to get less out of the same effort. And it kind of comes back to the last episode where I was talking about routine and consistency and all those things. And one of the reasons why that's so good for me, and I think anyone who might resonate with kind of this little story, is there are things that I know I need in order to like be okay in the short and long term. In order to feel organized, in order to not be anxious or like feel unprepared or have like weird swings in like energy and mood. And maybe that's just me. Like I said, maybe I'm just a pussy, but I think I feel secure enough to talk about it, and also mostly because like I've put in a lot of effort to figure it out, to learn what are the things that I need in order to move forward and do the best job and hold myself to the highest standard that I want and I know I can each day. And it's putting in that little bit of effort, and just to figure out what is it that is required of me. What are my behaviors? What are the things that are necessary for me to feel good about those things? So I think that's a big aspect. Hold on. All right, sorry about that. That's the problem with doing a podcast in your cars. Occasionally, you get phone calls. So I'll see if I can't edit that out. But we'll see what happens. See if we can't pick up on the train of thought where we were. So I was just kind of talking about the things that I know I need based off of my own mental, emotional well-being. And really, it just comes from being honest with yourself. If you want to suppress all that shit and be like, don't be a pussy, and just like, retreat from all of it, if that's your coping strategy at this moment, then, that's like, who the fuck am I to tell you how to live, how to think? I'm not a doctor, and I don't know. I did that for a really long time, and like, I'm as okay as like a person can be with like their own shit, right? But if you're looking at it from the lens of like you're pushing it down and hiding from it, or just looking at it as like like you're just thinking that you're a pussy because you have emotions, well then, for whatever it's worth, take it from me and be like, that's just programming, dude. And whether you're a man or a woman, you know, boy or girl, that's not real. You know, that like line of thinking, that frame of thinking has like, it's a false narrative. Having emotions and having like mental emotional shit isn't a weakness. It's just something that you've got to figure out. It's like a unique aspect of yourself. By pushing it down and like hiding from it and not identifying what it is and like working on it, that's just stupid, because you know it's going to be a problem. It's not just going to go away by suppressing it. It's going to come back somewhere later. So what you're doing is you're opting for long-term suffering, not just, you know, in your personal life, but it's going to come out in your professional life. It's going to come out in your productivity. It's going to come out somewhere. Now, I'm not telling you that you've got to go find your safe space and put up hella boundaries and all this other stuff. Like, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I believe in coddling and, you know, avoiding anything that gives you anxiety. Like, honestly, fuck that. There definitely is a line where you're just straight up like avoiding stuff because you're afraid, or you can't handle pressure. But that's on you. You need to find somebody who can help you work on tools, because that's life, dude. You can't control everything in your life, ever. You can really only control yourself. So if there's a way to give yourself tools to get better at dealing with your stuff, regardless of how good, bad, or otherwise that it might be, then you need to do that. I'm not going to sit here and tell you, like, you know, get your safe space, you know, avoid any and all conflict and confrontation. But also, I'm not a fucking doctor, so you don't have to do anything I say. What I am getting at is, don't be ashamed if you're depressed, if you're anxious, if you have a problem focusing and shit. Just go do something about it. Hiding from it and denying it is not effective. It's not productive. But you also don't have to make it your identity either. I guess that's what I'm getting at. You can have shit and it not be your identity. You can still be whoever the fuck you want to be, and just be like a smart version of that, where you handle your shit like an adult, right? And I really believe that. And it's one of the reasons why I made the decision pretty recently that I'm like, you know what? Going to therapy doesn't make me weak or a pussy. Not going makes me stupid as fuck. It makes me dumb. Because I know that there's an issue, and rather than face it and work on it and like deal with it, I just kind of put it away. I just kind of hide it somewhere and deal with it later on my own time. But that's just procrastination and bullshit anyway, because do I ever actually do anything about it other than just worry about it and just go through my shit? No. So I just experience whatever the fuck it is and then never do anything about it anyway. And that's stupid. That's dumb. Because every other aspect of my life, I say, hey, look, if you know there's a problem and you don't do something about it, that's the only way to be wrong. Right? Inaction is really the only way to fail. Everything else is an opportunity to learn. And it goes the same when it's about yourself. If you decide to do nothing about your mental, emotional shit, that's on you. But having heard this, having sat here and listened to me, you have this conversation, and you know you have stuff, well, now it's in front of you, right? You can believe in serendipity or whatever it is you believe. You can say it's just a coincidence, but we're talking about it right now, and I'm confident enough to put it out there, knowing that I don't really give a shit, and neither should you. Because anybody who judges you, Tell you what, right now, they probably got their own shit and they're probably hella ashamed of it. They're probably still working through it. You should probably tell them that they need to work their shit out. Just hide from it. Rate of diminishing returns. It's gonna come back, come get you. So the point is, my whole rant here, I thought therapy went well. I might sound like on my high horse with having gone to therapy only one time, but I've been doing counseling and stuff as well. And this is just the individual version. But it's something I've been thinking about for a long time. It's something that I think is more productive to talk about than not talk about. Because if I'm going to do this, right, we already established that I just got to be honest and I just got to reflect on whatever is going on in my head. So if that's the case, that's what's going on in my head. It's just thinking about how many people avoid this shit. I know I did for a really long time. And I don't think I'm that different than any of y'all. So that's really my thought for right now. If you've got stuff, you should identify it, man. You should figure it out. You should go work on that. You know, think about how much better you could be if you had a person to help you. Or if you just started making little steps to identify what might make you better, what might make you more efficient. You know, for me, I look at it from the same lens that I look at fitness. If you don't know what you're doing, but you know that you should be doing something, well, then maybe you should ask for help. Maybe you should hire a coach. Maybe you should find a friend who knows about these things, who can help keep you accountable. Maybe you should do all that. That would probably be an effective way to hold you accountable, to teach you, and for you to learn what's necessary and what's good for you to get fit and strong and create productive, effective workouts. And I think the same thing applies to mental, emotional well-being. So when it comes to the idea of just working out your shit, really think about it from that perspective. If you are struggling to identify what exactly is going on, but you know there's a problem, but you don't know what questions to ask, how to even start, that's how you know you need to seek out some help. But if you are aware and you do know what behaviors, what sort of stuff is going on, what sort of things you don't do well, what kind of environments you don't do well with, what sort of things, you should start looking into some little routines. Now, if you're like wicked uncomfortable and you're like, no way, dude, I'm way too masculine, too much of a man to go to therapy. All right, that's fine. I gotta be honest, you're the only one who's gonna suffer unless, you know, unless of course your shit like bleeds out onto other people, in which case shame on you, dude. But if you you know, you're too man to you know, ask for help and go look into it, at the very least start trying to put together a routine that puts you in the best place to be productive, be effective. Like I said, you know, repeat it 1,000 times, you know, I'm no doctor and you don't have to fucking listen to me, man. And you know, if you're too tough, you know, men or women, I don't really care, right? Men or women, if you're too tough to ask for help, at the very least, you know, try to look in, you know, into what it is you're experiencing and try to set up some kind of routine some type of consistency that helps you. Because, look, I don't judge, if you're too tough, maybe you are, I don't fucking know. But I don't want anybody to suffer. Most people don't deserve it, right? And if there are resources available, try to take advantage of them. If not, use friends, man. It makes a big difference. Find people who are experiencing things similar to you. Just being able to share that experience is cathartic. And if that's still too much, set a timer, take 5 minutes. Just journal, man. Get it out of your head. Put it somewhere. You can burn it afterwards. Nobody's got to see it. But you should do something. If your mind is super busy and, having a hard time with depression or anxiety or something like that, I think you should go see somebody. But if you're too tough for that, then at the very least, find a friend to talk to or a mentor, or write it down, journal it. It doesn't have to be a long time. Just anything is better than nothing. You're the only one who suffers, man. You're the only one. Nobody else cares until you let them in. So, you can run it. You can run it solo, or not. That's your choice. But like I said, now you're called out. So now it is a choice. If you choose suffering, that's on you. Just know that you're doing this now. So that's really what I was thinking, man. That's how I was kind of processing things this morning. I was making my son's lunch because he's going to school. He goes to daycare. We call it school. But he's going to school, and he got his lunch and everything together. So that's just kind of what I was chewing on before I sent him off. But that's it. I don't want to force anything else if I don't have it naturally. That's not what this is about. So I guess the final word on this is fix your shit, man. If you know you got stuff, go do something about it. You're not too tough, I promise. I thought I was too tough for a long time. But everybody's got shit, man. And you're the only one who suffers. Especially if you let it go and you know that you're just letting it go. You don't have to. You don't got to be alone. Well, this was one of my more vulnerable ones, I think. Then again, I feel like they are all kind of vulnerable. It's weird to me. I don't talk like this in person. Maybe I do. I don't know. Either way, thanks for coming back. Do me a favor. If you like it, subscribe. Whatever you do. Whatever the podcasts you do. If you find this helpful, I don't mind if you tell people about it. You don't have to. Like I said, if the audience never grows or shrinks, I'll probably still do it, so it's fine. But if it can help anybody, you should do that. You should share it with them. Anyway, as always, this is the Marset Perspective podcast from my car.